So there's no plus anymore. Okay. How is it?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna start it right now. How many students in the room?
It's 10, 14,
Okay then.
I don't know, 10.
All right. We'll start it.
30 minutes, yes.
Okay. 3 minutes. So until 9:05. That fine? Correct.
Yes.
Okay then. So without any further ado, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, class, good morning, everyone. How are you today?
Good.
Okay, so happy fasting. This is the mm, 16th or maybe 26th day, I guess, for fasting. So I hope you have a good fasting today. So today we would
Amen.
like to present our topic about psycholinguistics. And psycholinguistic, as we know, is study of how the human mind understand. And our title for today is Wild and Isolated Children, Critical Age Issue for Language Learning. So this presentation is more about case study of some student who have struggled with language learning. So we hope this presentation can help us understand more about how language works in our brain, especially in a person who has some kind of issue. So without any further ado, I'm gonna start it with the first presenter, which is Diva Zahra Anindya. So Diva, time is yours. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Adi. And we will come to the first case. So in our presentation, it's more like a story. So please pretend that you're listening into the podcast, right? So the first story is about Victor, the wild boy of Aveyron. Adi, can you click? Okay. So this is the illustration. Why this is the illustration? Because Victor was found in the 18th century in Aveyron around France. He was found around the age of 11 or 12. So uh, at that time, he was naked and he couldn't speak a language, like he just made animal like sound. Uh, and he even uh, seemed immune to the cold, like he was running through the snow without any clothing and he didn't felt any cold like that. And the experts or the researcher like Mr. Jean-Marc Gaspard Itard, or less called as Mr. Itard, he was had interest with picture, so he learned about picture and he took picture into his house. And however, the first step is was to awaken picture senses. Through hours of warm baths and massages, pictures began to sense the temperature. Eventually, he began to enjoy dressing and learn to sneeze, and even he was cried for the first time. And this is was the like a huge like what is it the huge breakthrough that his nerves were still responding to his surrounding. However, for the language, Mr. Itard, what is it? He was found that picture. The first word that picture say is late or milk in English. But he didn't use the word to ask for the milk. He simply said it as randomly when he was given the milk. like milk, milk, milk. It's not what asks for the milk like that. And despite the various methods that Mr. Itard teach him, including like words card and pictures, picture was never able to master the grammar and communicate perfectly like a normal human. So despite his language disability, picture demonstrated that like something very sweet, which is empathy. So picture one day there are Madame Gurens, which is the what is it the ART of Mr. Itard. He, her husband died, and picture is crying, and he was hugged the Mr. The Madame Guren, I mean. And this is the moment which is even without language, Victor possess like emotional capacity and compassion. And later he died in 1828 at the age of 38, like that. And we're gonna move on, to the second cases of the second story. So this is Jenny, which is raised in isolation. This is the photos of her. So Jenny Willie, or his actual name is her actual name is Susan Willie, lived in a life in total isolation from the age of 20 months old, or when she was a baby, until she was 13 years old when rescued. Her father believed she was mentally disabled and chose to hide her from the world. And for over a decade, she was confined to a small and dark room, and she was like diikat dalam kursi untuk buat poop, like that. And she was never spoken to. If she made uh, any sound or something, her father would like apa ya, like made a sound like a dog, so Ginny will feel scared. And in 1970, Jenny's mother, who was nearly blind, finally escaped with Jenny and sought help at the social services office. And before even the trial or the sidang, her father committed suicide. So we cannot, until this day, we couldn't know the exact reason why his father doing this to Jenny. And Jenny Rescue made a huge interest for the researcher in the world. So they wanted to test the critical period hypothesis, the theory that if a child doesn't learn a language by puberty, they will never will. So Jenny started work with like a linguist, which is Susan Curtis, and the result was proof that she was highly intelligent in some ways. She learned 100 words and could communicate like through gesture and basic phrases. But she could never master grammar or the rules of the syntax because her brain having missed the early childhood development. Like she couldn't process the complex structure of human speech anymore. And after several years, the research funding for Jenny was cut, and Jenny life become unstable again, and she was like moving through various homes, and her mother also died at 2003. And today, from the latest news that we found on the internet, which is from the 2016, Jenny is in her late 16s, which live in the private adult care facility in Los Angeles. That's all for the second story. And we're gonna move to the next slide, please. Adi, I'm sorry. Can you move the next slide?
All right.
Alright. And let's move to the next story, which is from Isabel, the convenient with a mute mother. So here is the background for her mother first. Isabel was Isabel was born when from her mother that had a brain injury at the age of 2. So her mother was communicated with only gestures, and she gave birth to Isabel at 22 years old, and during her pregnancy and for the 6.5 years, they both locked in the room behind drown shades. So, and then after that, the mother took Isabel to escape, and they were admitted to Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, in 1938. And there, Isabel worked with Mr. Mason from the hospital speech clinic, and Isabel showed the rapid development because after 20 months, she can produce full sentences and intelligent questions. Okay, maybe that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation, Difra.
Yeah.
So right now we move to the other cases. Wait a minute. So it is my turn that I have case. The name of the person is Chelsea. This is not Chelsea Football Club, but Chelsea as a person. So you can see in here, Chelsea was learning a language. It start from age of 32. Just imagine someone who learned language starting from 32. And then since she was a child, her family believed that she was deaf and mentally disabled because she lived in some kind of area that in California, and she never received language instruction or training. Like when we were children or kids, we used to imitate our parents' sounds, like. But I have a question, and you can answer later in the Q&A sections. Like, why when a kid or a toddler like to imitate like hey dad, say papa, but they can say papa but never say. Do you understand, guys?
Hmm.
I will use bahasa Indonesia like bilang mama, kenapa mereka bisa mama mama tapi kenapa nggak ngomong bilangnya kenapa nggak diulangi? Ya, silahkan dipikirkan secara logika. Okay, so after that, later the doctor discovered that she was actually not deaf. Imagine you have a kid, and you assume this kid is a deaf. But after 32 age, it turns out she's not deaf. It's crazy, right? So after she received that hearing aid, she could finally hear some speech normally and began learning language. So after she got some kind of medicine, she can speech normally and begin to learning language for the first time at age of 32. So this case is often connected with the theory of Leineberg in 1967 about critical period hypothesis, which is suggests that language learning is most effective during childhood. Even though she got to learn at 32, but the process is not as easy as a childhood. But it is still that it can. Next, so about the development of Chelsea. So after receiving language instruction, Chelsea showed significant progress in vocabulary. She was able to learn many words and use it in social situations such as making a request like "Mama, I want pupu, pupu," gitu kan. Terus ya, "Mama udah," and then gitu it's like to cebok. So and greeting people also. However, her sentence lack of grammar, like the grammar is not structured well, like morning good, maybe like that. And then she produced sentence like orange uh, or banana the eat like that. So according to Susan Curtis 1989, this show that people who begin learning language very late, she's very late at 32, may develop vocabulary but still struggle. They can develop a vocabulary, they can remember but struggle with that. And the next, another famous case, this is different from Chelsea, is Helen Keller. And she's deaf and blind child because she got illness, okay, at age of 19. Okay, so the previous case is she was assumed that she is deaf, but it turns out she's not. But right now it's different. When she was 7 years old, a teacher named Anna Sullivan Massey came to teach her language. This opportunity was arranged with the help of Alexander Graham Bell. If you remember that person, since Helen could neither see or hear, her teacher used to touch-based communication. Touch-based communication is like what we call it, braille. Like when you go to ATM, there's some kind of ada titik-titik dot ya di tombolnya. It's like a braille, so it called base communication touch. Through this method, Helen slowly began to understand language. This example supported by the theory of Vygotsky 1978 that social interaction plays very important for role in cognitive and language, and also touchy thing. If you're physical touch, you can use it as a social interaction also, like hugging a person and etc. And the last but not least is Helen language breakthrough, the development also. One of the most famous moments in Helen Keller's life was she learned her first word. It is what? Water. Her teacher placed of Helen's hand under flowing water, like she touched the water at the surface, like, oh, it's wet. And then she started to spelling the letters like Water in the other hand at the moment also. And after she touched the object, she learned more easily. Then this discovery helped her to understand the basic concept of language. That language have a symbol and represent some object and ideas. And later learn to speak, read braille, like what I said before, and even graduate from Radcliffe College is. Wow. Someone who's deaf at 19 even can graduate from Radcliffe College. But I don't know this person from maybe from PBI or maybe from Kehutanan. Okay. This learning process reflects from the theory of Brunner 1983, okay, as you can see at the below of the page. And then the fifth slide. So this is a new something new that we found from the last chapter that we have going to discuss two cases of the children raised in extremely unusual environment. Like we, I assume that we are all here grew in the right environments that we have mom, dad, that normal, and then environment. So I have a few kind of cases. First is Oksana from Ukraine, discovered when in 1991 live with dogs from age 3 to 8. Imagine you live with dog and you're just barking all the time like that. So she behaved like a dog, walk on all fours. I mean, walk with fours, two hands and two legs. So they just walking around like a dog, and mostly bark instead of speaking, like whoop, whoop, like ISO speed. Maybe she's dog actually. And then another case is Edik here. He's from Ukraine also. What's going on with Ukraine, right? Kenapa ya? So Ukraine discovered in 1999. He survived with stray dogs after neglect by his alcoholic mother. Wow. So basically, all these, not all, but they have a bad parenting. The alcoholic mother. Wow. And then Edig survived with stray dogs. Wow. Helped by a dog. Imagine po. Durhaka. And then orang tua durhaka. And then at age 6, his speech resembled that of 3-year-old child. This case demonstrates that normal language development requires a consistent human interactions and linguist input, as explained by Catherine and Snow in 1977. So it's very important that we have our environment that support us to learn language. So next will be delivered by, oh, still me. So language cannot develop without early exposure. So we have to get exposed by language itself to have gain imitation and then duplication and etc. And the two factors influence success in language learning. It is the first one is age of to start it. Just look at here. When someone really early to get exposed with language, so it means that is good. Second one is level of psychological and social trauma. So we're talking about trauma here. If you have a trauma to learning language, it's really impactful to your daily basis. Like when someone will get um, bullied when they're young because why you so English? Literally, you like Jackson, sound Jackson like that. It's maybe not everyone have a strong mental. Maybe they get trauma. So it's really impactful to our life. Example like Jenny, but this is more deep. I mean, Jenny started learning at language at 13. She developed good comprehension, but weak syntax and pronunciation. That's why we have to learn more early, more good, more better, like that. Next will be delivered by Miss Diva.
Alright, thank you, Adi. So this is the last slide. So from the Chelsea's cases, we know that vocabulary and pragmatic still develop after the critical age, but syntax is limited. And the next. Meanwhile, Isabel and Helen achieved better language development. Why? Because Isabel and Helen got the language learning before the critical age. I mean, and the factors that affect their language learning is from the affection and the social support from the family. So we can conclude that. Can you click, Adi? Yeah, so we can conclude that picture Ginny and Chelsea do not prove the critical period hypothesis. And if a critical age exists in the language learning, is not earlier than 6 or 7 years old or before puberty, which is this is the hypothesis from Lederberg in 1967. And also the factors that affect language development are cognitive ability, social environment, emotional support, and the quality of language input. So maybe that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Diva.
Yeah.
So right now we going to the Q&A section. If you have any question, just deliver to us. Raise your hand. I'm going to stop sharing for just looking at the Gmeet intersection. Wait. I mean, can you tell me who's raised their hand, Diva?
Gita. Gita.
Me.
Oh,
Okay, kita. Go ahead, Git. Gita and Adi. Adi after Gita.
Okay. 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 The question is apa? Okay. Based on the critical period hypothesis, language learning is said to be most effective before puberty. Nah,
Mhm.
how do you think we can explain what is the kasus where some individual still manage to apa ya? Still manage to learn a language successfully after puberty.
Okay. So we're going to collect the question first. Okay, Gita. It's very clear and it's a good question. Thank you so much. Is
Thank
that
you.
enough, Git?
Yes.
Okay, then. Next, Mr. Adi Balianugraha.
Okay, for me, before I'm sorry, I'm a little bit late.
Okay, that's fine, Adi.
Yeah, I was heard about you mentioned about why uh, the baby. I'm sorry, can I using bahasa?
Yes, sure.
Nah, uh, you mentioned like kenapa bayi pas dikasih perintah kayak coba bilang mama mama gitu, tapi kenapa si bayinya yang diulang itu mama bukan kata bilang gitu tadi kan mention. Nah itu kira-kira tadi I'm sorry mungkin ada sedikit gak kedengar atau apa, itu kira-kira penyebabnya apa?
Okay, so you want to ask the same question like mine also?
Ya,
Okay, siap. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Abel.
thank you.
Is there any question anymore? One person left? No? Okay, then. Diva,
yes.
who would you answer the question from, Adi or Gita?
I think from Gita.
Okay, then go ahead if you're ready.
I'm still not ready. Wait.
Okay, then. So give us like maybe 1 minute, yeah? Maybe I will answer Adi's question first, okay? So, Abel, is it my own question actually? Is it still on my mind? This random question came true. So, why baby like when they say, "Mama, say mama," they not say the say. It's because I found that the structure of the mouth uh, it is not fully structured. For example, like they just focus on the word that easy to pronounce, and the easiest word, the simple word, is like mama or papa. That is why a toddler, a baby, it's more into say mama rather than the word say. And another reason is because of their motoric. When they when they try to pronounce the syllable of mama or papa, because it has the same syllable, mama, and then papa. But if you like says or something like that, it's more uh, have more stress, so it's quite hard to pronounce it. And baby or something like toddler, they're like to moche. What is moche? Oh, it's like bubbling, like that. So they're to like to imitate a word like mama or papa like that. So yes, I think that's the answer, Mas Abel. How is it?
Yeah, I think that's enough. I understand. I understood.
All right, thank you so much. Diva, are you ready?
Okay, I will try to answer the question from Gita.
Okay.
How do you think we can explain cases where some individuals still manage to learn a language successfully after puberty? So, uh, as long as what I read for this material for this presentation, I still haven't found the individuals that manage to learn language successfully after puberty. You can see the cases from what we shared before, like uh, people who are learn language after the puberty, like di atas usia misalnya 13 tahun ke atas gitu. Maybe they can learn about they can have the comprehension about the language. They can what is it, ngerti gitu ya, but they can successfully what is it, get the pragmatic and the linguistic, because for example from what cases I forget, dia memang bisa mengeluarkan sound gitu, berbicara untuk menunjukkan ini itu, but it's not in the right grammar, like it's not the uh, order change gitu for the sentences gitu. And then for the what is it, the brain itself, when people after the puberty learn seperti like the adults yang belajar bahasa ketika sudah dewasa gitu ya, ada something di brainnya itu yang udah nggak develop lagi, jadi udah nggak bekerja lagi, sehingga mereka itu nggak bisa fully learn a language gitu. Something called language faculty gitu. And then there is also the perbedaan buat orang dewasa dan anak-anak ketika belajar language, kan ada perbedaan ya, kalau misalnya anak-anak belajar language-nya seperti ini caranya, dan orang dewasa itu mungkin lebih ke logic and menggunakan memorization gitu, dan mereka juga lebih strict to the grammar gitu. And maybe they also like trying to achieve the native like fluency gitu. And so from my opinion, I think I haven't found the individuals that still manage to learn a language successfully after puberty. Maybe ada gitu di luar sana, but from what I believe gitu, sayangnya belum ada yang benar-benar bisa belajar language dengan benar ketika udah mencapai pubertasnya seperti itu, karena otak mereka sendiri itu sudah not activated anymore, seperti itu Gita. Mungkin dari aku, mungkin bisa ditambahkan oleh Adi barangkali.
So I do agree a lot with you also. Like it is even though it's get more easy and high exposure and input when they're before they get puberty, but doesn't mean that they can learn also. Begitu, I guess, Div.
Alright, maybe that's all our answer. Gita, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Diva. It's clear.
All right. Yes, no problem. So, if there's no more questions, and I think it is very clear enough, so I'm going to jump into the conclusions of our presentation of today. So, the conclusion of all the cases that we've been presented, so early language exposure and social interaction are crucial, very crucial for language development. Cases like Helen Keller and oh, it turns out that Tiara has the book. Huh? Yes. And if you want to learn more about that, you can borrow it to her, but ask her permission first. Helen Keller and Isabella show that children can still develop language when exposure begins relatively early, while Jenny and Victor of Everon demonstrate the difficulties caused by prolonged isolation. So isolation gives more trauma ties for them. So these cases support modern views that timely input and supportive environments strongly influence language acquisition. It is based from these two sources. So I guess that's all for our presentation today. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll do thank you in advance to our person in charge, which is the Rahma Wulan. Please, everyone, give applause for her. Thank you so much, Dia, for your uh, intention and all your willingness to become the PIC. Respect, respect. Okay, I think yes, you may uh, hang up the call. Thank you so much, guys.